Descartes believed that he resided inside a virtual reality where all his thoughts and everything he experienced was the thoughts and experiences fed to him by an evil demon that was hell-bent on deceiving him. Okay, so it's safe to say that Descartes' theory may have been a little more far-fetched than what I might have theorized, and perhaps he was certainly more of a fruitcake than me. Nevertheless, the theory did lead to thought experiment movies such as The Matrix. Totally pointless information there, I think. So what's the point of even considering or discussing Descartes' thoughts, you might ask? The point is simply the idea of a virtually fucked up reality. Now, to one who is justifiably less open-minded than me, the notion that we all inhabit a virtual reality might appear a little too much to comprehend. If I'm honest and view my views through the eyes of a scientist, I too will scoff at the idea of such a thing. But then, as an author, I could simply write the end here, and this book would never see the light of day. However, my philosophical, at times rather annoying mind, continually points out to me that to discover the answers to my questions, I need to remain open-minded and investigate all avenues, no matter how flamboyant they may appear. But just how inconceivable is Descartes' notion of a virtual reality? Think on this for a moment, if you will. If Descartes believed that all his actions, thoughts, choices in life were controlled by, in his own words, an evil demon, then could it not be said that perhaps there is some reasoning behind this idea? Take into consideration that religious people believe that their actions, thoughts, choices are being made by a God who has a plan for us all, and all we have to do is trust in him so that we will be delivered upon righteousness. Can it not be said that if the beliefs of religion are to be true, then are we not essentially living within a virtual reality maintained by said God? Does the Bible not point out that in the beginning there was only darkness and the God said, "Let there be light," and there was? Does it not tell us that the so-called first man, Adam, was placed within a paradise garden to live out his life? And does it not also tell us that upon eating the forbidden apple, Adam and his wife Eve were suddenly filled with knowledge that this God wanted to keep from them? The knowledge that made the two so-called first people smarter, and thus resulted in their creator sternly kicking them out of the Garden of Eden, probably by the use of a rather oversized pinky finger. Descartes' notion of the virtual reality gives rise to the fact that perhaps we are under the control of something higher up the food chain than ourselves. If the idea can be seen in the slightest as being remarkably true, then perhaps the belief that we are led and governed by a God who created everything fundamentally places us all smack bang right in the center of a virtual reality. In other words, this would mean we are slaves to a game played by a giant white-haired, long-bearded old man who enjoys pissing on our head and telling us it's rain. Oh, so is my reason. The notion of living in a virtual reality and being controlled by something higher than myself has passed through my mind on a few occasions over the years. I simply cannot seem to understand any apprehensible reasoning behind many thoughts I've had or actions I tend to carry out, lest we forget the many incidents that have unpleasantly landed themselves upon my body. And I think, if it is true that I am being controlled by something other than myself, it's safe to conclude that my controller, much like that of Descartes' own beliefs, is an evil demon who is rather naughty and perhaps a little too addicted to crack. It needs to be pointed out here before we go any further that, in all honesty, I am not an evil man. Nope, I consider myself an arsehole. In fact, the only time you need to fear me is when I'm staring into a fire and smiling. Or perhaps I am evil and I just don't want to believe it, so I blame my crazy-ass thoughts on a make-believe demon controlling me within a virtual reality. Seems legit. Honestly, I think the notion that we inhabit a virtual reality where we're controlled by something higher than ourselves is fairly inconceivable. For if such a thing were to be true, would it not be safe to say that upon having a thought such as, let's say for argument's sake, my boss praying and accidentally summoning Satan, then wouldn't my little ill-behaved demon have created that event into reality, considering the demon appears to love playing such pranks? Also, I would not have been granted a severe wake-up call as I had another day while walking out of my house, or running.